It's preparing. Oh, well, my window says it's preparing. This one says we're live. So let's hope that we're live. So yeah, hello everyone. Welcome to the Node tooling meeting for what is it? October 1st, 2021. Yeah, so I guess let's get right into the agenda. I can find it here. Okay, so what do we have here? First on the agenda is alert end users to features that are added to Node core when using a package shim, etc. I think we actually were going to remove that from the agenda. That I was initially looking at that, but haven't really had time to do any more on that. The idea there is just to, let people know, for example, with a package like rimraf or something that we've now incorporated into Node, let them know they maybe don't need to pull that dependency in. But yeah, I have not had a chance to make any progress on that one.
What do we decide on that one? I'm trying to look at the notes here.
I think
standalone package, is that right?
Yeah, we were gonna, rather than, even if it's built with ESLint, rather than adding it to like the default like Node ESLint rules, we're thinking maybe you just run like a tool to kind of lint or check your project for those kinds of things. But yeah, no developments on that one. So yeah, let's move on here. Ben, I don't know if you have anything to say about recursive copy. Any new stuff there?
Yeah, yes and no. So I mean, I think we can't call it GA or stable until we support these buffer operations, which other file operations support. And I was doing a little bit of work to try to create like a helper library that would allow you to do common path operations on buffers. Find it here. So I've got that like partially done. Share it in our notes.
We're talking about recursive copy here, right?
Yeah. So it only works on string paths right now, which can fail for some languages like Japanese, Korean, Chinese. Sometimes we'll have the file system have characters that don't work if they're a bare string in some operating systems, which is why a bunch of the file system operators were extended to support buffers of characters. So unfortunately, copy is a little more complicated than a lot of the other file operations where we need to recursively kind of perform operations where we like walk up the directory structure, walk down the directory structure. And TLDR, because the path helpers in Node don't work on buffers, it's actually hard to make recursive copy work on buffers. So
interesting.
I don't know. I guess when I have more time, I will try to finish up that helper library. And then my only concern is that like it's like 1,000 lines of code maybe. So it's like a little,
yeah,
it like introduces a little complexity to Node. And I'm like, at some point you must be worried about the size of the bin, right? So I don't know. It's probably a necessary evil.
Challenge to review as well. Is that a part of the, I see in the issue here, 398, it looks like you and Danielle Adams are working on the add recursive CP method. Is that what you're talking about, or is it something different?
Let me look. Is that linked in the?
Yeah, it's near the bottom of the all the linked stuff at the bottom.
So let me see here. It's actually landed, right? So it's
yeah.
It's landed, but it was landed with a experimental flag.
I see.
And James Snell said that they would rather, like, they basically said one of the blockers for it getting to stable would be if we can, that's where it's landed. One of the blockers would be getting it working with buffers.
Okay.
In the process, I read through RimRaf, and it's a very half-baked buffer implementation, and I think that's probably true of a bunch of file operations. Like it doesn't actually do the right thing in some cases. So I don't know. I guess I would if anyone's interested in pitching in who's watching our thousands of followers on YouTube, if they're interested in this work, I would happily have some help. But
Yeah.
I think this will be the main new coding I do for the problem. Will be trying to get this buffer work done. So
If you do want help and you want to kind of write up the problem space, and we could, try to publicize it and see if anybody does want to help.
It feels like, yeah, that's fair. It feels like such an annoying, gnarly problem, though. Like I don't feel like anyone would be too excited to dive in and do it.
Some people like problems.
Yeah. The code review is going to be mucky, though, like you say, because it's like 500 new lines. Like what is it right now? 600 lines of code, but I think it's going to be more like 1,000 before it's done. And it's just like horrible string munging, basically.
Wow.
Is your that this ends up in Node Core? Like I see you've got it in your own repo right now, but
I did it outside of Node Core just because it makes my iteration faster, because I don't have to compile the code to test. So I'm rating it just. My intention would be it would be in Node. And I realized this weekend when I was getting ready for interviewing someone at Google that my implementation of Unicode, my implementation of UTF-16 is off too. I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh.
So I also threw out that interview question because I realized it was a terrible interview question. But
that's funny.
But it was good. It got me thinking. It taught me that I'm doing it wrong. So
that's funny. Let me ask you, since it is in your own repo, but the hope is to have it land in Node, does it make sense to do like we're doing with Parsargs and put it in like PKG.js and hack on it there and test it there and get people looking at it and working on it there before we bring it
that might be worthwhile. I'd happily migrate it. Yeah, I think that could be a good call.
Up to you.
No, I think that's a good call. Let me write that down in our notes. Is Darcy our point of contact for doing that?
Yeah, Darcy or Wes, or Michael Dawson could certainly help too. But I think Darcy got the Parsarg stuff started.
Okay, cool.
But we should probably, if we're gonna use that space more, maybe one of us should be added there or something.
That's a good point. Yeah, I think it's a bigger problem than I think it will take me realistically a month or two or a few months to get this work done, because I didn't realize that this is boring Unicode stuff. I didn't realize UTF-16 was a variable length as well. I thought it was always 16 bits, but it's actually I think 16 to 24 bits or something. So it works kind of like UTF-8, I think, where you can have like a control character that adds extra bytes. So all this is just to be able to measure the length of a path is all I want to do. But the problem is you need to like completely, it's you know what I mean? First you have to make the universe before you can make a cake, basically. Cool, I've talked way too much about that, so let's move on.
It's fine.
I think that's a good idea though, Joe. I'll maybe do the work somewhere more public.
Okay.
Okay. Next on the agenda here, we have source map v3. Any new developments there?
Just looking at the issue here. I think we could close this issue because we've implemented it. Like, I feel like any issues that have come up have been pretty minor. Do we want to close this?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with it too. I'm just trying to scroll through and see if there's anything. Yeah. That's been open for a while. Is that why we had it open, just to see if anything comes up with it, or?
Yeah, I was, after we first launched, I wanted to make sure it actually continued, that worked in the stable version of Node and whatnot. take a quick peek, but I think we're doing pretty good. Like, there's a few feature requests open, but it's no like glaring issues. Yeah, there's only 2 issues open, and one is yeah, both feature requests. So I think we can just leave them open.
Okay.
Don't need the tracking ticket.
Sounds good.
Okay. Did one of you close that ticket on the tooling board so it doesn't appear again?
I just did, yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so then the last item on the agenda is argument parsing. So we've got yeah, Jessica has started working on that. I see you have a PR up.
Yeah, just before joining the call, I saw Jordan had left me some good comments but approved. So I just want to, I guess, make all the changes. They're good, and then before I commit.
We take a look. I'm very excited this work is being picked up.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you, Jessica. Yeah, and as I mentioned too, you know, Jessica was just looking at the examples that are in the README and, you know, trying to flesh out kind of the minimal implementation, I guess, to start to fill out the object that would be returned.
Where does the PR live right now?
Pull request 9 and parse args. I'll put it in the chat here.
Cool. It's gonna be a skim.
Yep.
Sorry, just if I'm distracted, I'm just finding one quick other ticket I want to put in our notes too.
Sure. Yeah, so there's you know, a couple of spots where you know, Jess and I reviewed it, and you know, she's pretty concise with getting a bunch of stuff on one line, which I think makes sense. But if anybody has any objections and wants to, you know, break it up, and then also there's a couple of spots where it's feels like it's repeating a little bit, but I don't know if it's time to optimize that yet or just kind of let it roll and see how it plays out.
Looks like there's very good tests, which is great.
Yeah.
Just reading. I'll have to give it a more thorough read, but I mean, I feel like perfect is the enemy of the good in a lot of ways, right? So.
Yeah, and we don't need to go through it all right now, but if you all want to take a look and just see if you have any you know, improvements you know, before we land it, and then we can go from there, or if you want to land it and we can go from there.
I think minor feedback from me, like out of the gate, like I'm not too concerned with some of the lines being long. I mean, maybe we could clean that up a bit, but I think it would be worth looking at how Node.js approaches their errors, and cleaning up our how we throw and just making our errors look more idiomatic to Node.
So there's actually a separate issue for that.
Okay.
It kind of, yeah, sort of standardize the errors throughout this.
Mm-hmm.
There's an errors there's an errors file in Node.js, I think in internal, which is where all the error objects originate in when you're throwing inside a Node.js.
Mm-hmm.
Just sharing it here.
Yeah, we should add it to the issue so that.
But I kind of agree with, like, I think what both of you are saying, that like we should just move forward with this, and that like shouldn't be optimizing it right now. We shouldn't worry too much about making it perfect. You know, let's just keep kind of iterating on it, and we can improve it over that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and one of the things I see right off the bat, which is no fault of Jessica's or anyone else's, is we should probably get some like style checking in there and just make sure that we're all sort of aligned on the Node.js style and spacing and all that stuff.
There is also an issue for that, which I think I was supposed to do. So I think there were 2 things I was going to do, which was like code coverage and linting. So maybe I can take a look at that this weekend. Actually, I've got a little bit more time at the moment. Been a little busy with the new version of Create React app, but we're very close to having that done. So yeah, I might have a bit of time to work on those things.
Great.
My ask would be, my polite ask, because I have no authority, would be that we, like you say, would be if we could get an ESLinter in that literally enforces the same coding guidelines as the Node code base. That'd be great, because I would use that in my I'd use that in my path library as well, and then we can just, like, when we do pull them into Node.js, we already have the exact formatting that we need. And we just plop it in. Yeah,
exactly what I was thinking as well. Since that's kind of where it's heading. I guess maybe that's not an easy thing to do, or maybe that's not like well packaged up or something to use in other projects.
I've always like thought about doing it and never done it, because it's probably not that hard. I've just never tried doing it. Like I think the way the linter runs is a little weird in Node.js. It's fendered, I think, in a depths folder.
Right.
But it probably just runs ESLint config like any other ESLinter. So
weird that I feel like it's more complicated than that. Sorry, Ian. I feel like I remember looking at it and going, "Oh, okay." I'm not sure. I'd have to look at it again, because there are a few things like error handling and everything that, like, I was like, "Oh," but then I looked and was like, "Oh, okay." But we should definitely look at it and see how we can make sure we're aligned, so that the goal is to move it over there and have it as frictionless as possible.
Even if it's as close as possible, like to the Node style, without going too far into making it identical, that would probably be a big help.
Yeah.
That's what I feel about errors as well. Like they should look like Node errors, but let's not try to use that like errors.js pattern until we actually integrate into Node.js, because like we don't want to like pull that file over and.
Right. I think the goal is just let's make it as easy as possible when we do go to move it into the Node.js code base, so that we're not having to make tons of changes.
Yeah, that being said, though, I was hoping to influence Node.js errors and start to use the whoops comment. So
that's reasonable. Yeah. It's good. I like what I will say is I like that our parser is literally just a while loop, because that's actually a really good way to build a parser, just like it's just a tokenizing, just like it was a traversal parser. It's not trying to be overly clever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed.
I think this is good.
And I haven't talked to Kai in a little bit. He went to a couple of our meetings. He was one of the lead maintainers in ESLint. I can talk to him about the linting part. Maybe he could look at it and be like, "Oh yeah, this could be done much simpler, 80-20 kind of implementation," and help us out there.
That would be a good addition to the package, like the package org.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Anyone writing a Node.js package just is like plucks in the Node style linting, and then we're off to the races.
Yeah, very good point.
Nice. That's everything on my mind. Like I think this would be a really good addition to Node.js if we did this. So awesome to have you looking at it, Jessica.
Yeah, thank you.
I put a tiny bit of new business on there, which is kind of basically RimRaf isn't working on like some Linuxes. There's 2 issues open about it.
Oh, is this, you and I talked about one of these issues last time, didn't we?
Yeah.
Is this a different one?
No, well, there's 2 that are essentially the same.
Oh yeah, that was not closing file handles or something, right?
Mm-hmm. I tried to reproduce it in Docker and couldn't. And I haven't seen a reproduction in Docker yet, so. It's a nasty one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially, if it's hard to reproduce, that kind of makes it hard to fix.
Leaves them in a deleted state. Oh, until the script execution is completed. Huh. Interesting.
Must only be happening to a portion of our user base.
Yeah, he says this is troublesome for long, very, very long running scripts, because it'll result in an out of space disk error.
A web server would be an issue that's deleting files.
Yeah.
Unless you kill it eventually.
So this is August 23rd, and I don't know, he hasn't come back.
If you look at I purposely didn't link the attached one because the person involved in it hasn't been respectful in their communication. But here's the other one too.
Oh yeah, I noticed that before. And I haven't looked at this one for a little while, but yeah, it looks like he's still, or they're still not being very nice.
But they're having a legitimate problem.
Yeah.
Just don't want to encourage that type of communication.
I know, yeah.
It doesn't help build a community.
No, I was reading through before, and I remember thinking to myself that you were being very patient and
Yeah. Yeah, I'm scrolling through this.
Well, I'm not about to, it's not about to drive me away from the community, but I'm worried about new contributors when you see people behaving like that.
Yeah. We all know that this is, with all this money lying around, developers are on a, what are they talking about?
I don't know. They're just grumpy.
Yeah.
But it's a real issue, which is why I haven't closed it. It's annoying because it's a real issue, but it's also probably should be shut down by comms. So I don't know what the best approach is there. But
interesting. Okay.
Okay, well that's interesting that there's a second kind of related issue though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm like, maybe we need to get involved in the mentorship program again or something, or like just try to find, try to get some folks who are just really excited to dive into this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm having this issue at work a little bit right now too, where unrelated to tooling, we're having some, like a few bugs related to HTTP2. And I've been encouraging my colleague to like contribute to Node if they want to, if we're seeing these issues with HTTP2. But yeah, he's like, well, I haven't even seen it triaged in 2 months. I'm like, that's a fair point, but like a little worried some of the more gnarly parts of the Node.js code base maybe are suffering from not a ton of contribution right now.
Yeah. Do you know, Ben, or have you, forgive me, I'm not sure if you're on the TC or TSC or what, but have issues been being triaged? I know Girish was spinning up like a triage group, and it seemed like there were a couple people who had joined. Does it seem like issues in general are getting triaged, or just gnarly ones that are kind of getting overlooked?
I think it depends, because we have like the ownership we have is so varied. Like I feel like if a ticket's assigned to say Ian that's related to a part of the system Ian's worked on, maybe it gets like triage does happen for sure. I think the HTTP2 ones didn't seem to be getting triaged. And it might just be that we're lacking people who are concentrating on that part of the system right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, I work for a large company. Like it's on my side, I can try to nudge people towards working on it. Right, that's one thing I can do. So it's an open source code base.
Yep.
So I don't want to this isn't a critique of Node. It's more of a, do we need to find ways to get more resources on parts of the system, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely outside of our charter. So
yeah, the tooling work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about though, if we could figure out, I mean, not just this group, but the larger group, how to really kind of surface some areas that we could really use help in and make it sound kind of fun and exciting and reach the people that we think, would find it fun and exciting. I don't know. It's always a constant challenge, huh?
What I saw with my colleague is, I think as the outside looking in, there's this assumption that there's an expert in that part of the system, and maybe they don't want to contribute a patch because maybe it's intended behavior, or maybe it's just that the triage hasn't happened yet, or something along those lines. And I don't think that's always the case. I think patches are appreciated. So it's like,
Yeah, for sure.
just figuring out how to communicate that. Like, I'm feeling the same way about this, like some of these file system bugs. Like, I don't think they'll be fixed unless we get some eyeballs on them and like find a way to carve out time that a lot of us don't have to actually do it. So yeah, I don't know. No solution. Just maybe I need to start attending some more meetings too.
Mm.
I feel like this stuff that used to be like, I feel like our collaborator summit would probably be a good venue for this kind of conversation.
Yep.
I don't know.
Hopefully that stuff is back soon. I don't know if is there a plan for like any kind of like Node interactive like virtual conference this winter?
I don't know of one. I mean, typically NodeConf was the off season, or however you'd phrase it, but Node Interactive and then NodeConf, and I don't think that they're doing remote again. NodeConf. I'm on the OpenJS World Planning Committee, and so we're working on that already. It's going to be in Austin in the summer, June or July, I can't remember which. And I think the expectation is that we would have space to do a collaborator summit there. The plan is to be in person.
It'd be nice to do something though, like before the end of the year, because it's been a long time.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we should be talking about a virtual one or something.
Yeah, might be. We definitely are in the wind down part of the year though, so might be.
Yeah,
but
might be hard.
There's 3 months left.
We wind down for a long time. I could be not.
I want to work at Google.
Yeah. But I hear what you're saying though, Ben, because I think if you start to plan something, by the time you actually are doing it, you're looking at November and December. Yeah.
If it's virtual
before summer could be nice though. Like maybe we could plan for like first quarter or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, or that.
Yeah.
Hopefully if it's virtual, it's not as much of a challenge to plan.
Yeah.
With the collaborator summits, what we used to do that was really good was invite a few experts who weren't necessarily always collaborators, but could maybe bring a perspective to that part of the system. So maybe I could like nudge my colleague having HTTP2 issues to come to the summit and talk about it. That would be valuable.
Yeah, and maybe it's not one big event. Maybe we just try to find, the most important things to talk about and make a list of them and just do like, a couple of 2-3 hour virtual summits on focused areas of the platform.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. I guess that's kind of cranked through our agenda items.
Yeah, I don't have anything else for today. Do any of you?
No, I guess, we'll just look at Jessica's open PR and try to land that soon and then kind of iterate from there. See what is kind of left in terms of the features that we wanted to have implemented, but also do these other related things like linting and whatnot.
Yeah, that sounds great.
I'm happy for like my comments to just be follow-up work. Like Jessica, would you be interested in doing the ESLint and the errors follow-up work? Like what's your plan for how involved you want to be going forward on this?
I'd like to take on a few more issues. I could, I guess, just make the changes that Jordan suggested. I'll hold off a day or two just to see if anyone throws anything in. Otherwise, I'll deliver. We can always put the comments later. And I can look into the ESLint to try and get it, I guess, like Node.js, but I'll see how complicated there is. Otherwise, I'll just try and do I guess, get it as close as possible.
Yeah, and I can, the three of us, me and you and our friend Kai from ESLint, we could take a look at it together too and see, he could maybe help point us in the right direction and get us over any humps there. What I was going to ask though is, I'm not exactly sure, but I'm under the impression that, yeah, we're still not like feature complete in terms of what we want to see with parsargs, but I'd have to take a look and make sure that we're kind of fleshing that out further, which may also be a good way for Jessica to continue if she wants to keep doing that specific work that she's already gotten familiar with. So maybe once we land it, we can see what we're lacking and start to make sure that we have that documented and we can implement those features as well. Maybe even build out the test first and go from there.
That
Yeah,
sounds
I think
good.
there was like the short ops. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a
Oh, no,
question.
go ahead, Jessica.
Yeah, I was just saying there was like the short ops left, but I think I don't know what the issue was saying on how we were moving forward with it.
I'm not sure we made a decision on short ops. I'd have to look at the issue and see. But based on your work, though, Jessica, is that the only thing that's really remaining? I can't recall.
I think it was honestly the only thing that was remaining. Well, I honestly I haven't read the full like all the features, but I think I covered most everything else.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess the examples here in the README aren't very long. So if that's all covered, then that's awesome. And we should just see if there's, we can discuss further if there's more that we expected of this.
I have a vacation coming up in a week, and I tend to be a nerd and program at least a little bit on my vacation. So that might be a good time for me to dive in a little bit and just come at it with fresh eyes, since I haven't read through everything in probably 6 months now. So
yeah, and with your experience with YARGs and everything, you know, if you see what you think of the implementation and if it's feature complete or what we would want to add to it or whatnot, that'd be great.
Awesome. Okay, so I will make my best effort to please feel free to flag me on code reviews though.
Okay.
Regardless, but I'll should have some time to dig in deep end of next week.
We've got the tooling Slack channel as well, so it's a good place to discuss anything.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, thanks everyone. Yeah. Have a good weekend. I'll talk to you later.
Cool.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.